Well, hopefully you can hear me now.
I can hear you just fine.
Thanks for coming in and joining in with the Scottish Bitcoin Meetup today. Sorry for the wonky camera angle at this end, but I think that seems to solve the issue we had with the wire.
You're fine. I'm
conscious we are slightly behind the schedule. So how do you want to do this? I think just to kind of get background to everybody in the room, I can't remember when I spoke to you first. It was possibly before Christmas. Certainly last year I became aware of FoldingCoin. And I think for everybody that doesn't know anything about it, and we've got a real mix of folk in the room, some folk who are absolutely fresh to Bitcoin, and some that absolutely aren't. So feel free to be as simplistic as you like.
Sure.
The floor is yours. On you go. I'll shut up instead of keeping on speaking.
Hey, perfect. I've actually kind of been working on a new little angle of explaining FoldingCoin in a more simplified way. So this will actually be a good little test run for that. Real quick to start, who here has heard of any sort of Bitcoin 2.0 project like Ethereum or Counterparty, NXT? Is anybody familiar with those?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we got a couple people in the room. To give a brief description before I explain FoldingCoin, I'm going to talk about what Bitcoin 2.0 is. It's basically finding applications and different kind of softwares that you can build inside of a blockchain. So, for example, with Counterparty, that's the project that I'm a community director for, and it's also what FoldingCoin is built on. How this basically works is inside each Bitcoin transaction, there's extra data, and these 2.0 platforms basically put additional data inside of that little 40 bits of Bitcoin data, and this allows you to create assets, so similar to like a stock or a security inside of the actual Bitcoin blockchain. This also is good for things like smart contracts, and you can do cool things like putting, there's ideas of even putting like property deeds inside of the Bitcoin blockchain itself. It's basically like having a coin inside of Bitcoin. Does that make sense to everybody? Is that kind of a summary of what 2.0 is? Okay, so since you can do that, that basically means you can create as many altcoins as you want. I mean, you can just create a bunch of altcoins inside of Bitcoins. These altcoins are referred to as tokens or assets, depending on who you talk to. So with FoldingCoin, we call it a token, and we're built on Counterparty, which is built inside of Bitcoin. So when we created FoldingCoin, we basically just issued 1 billion FoldingCoin, and then they were in existence. So they live inside of Bitcoin wallets. So I can give you FoldingCoin, and it can actually go to your Bitcoin wallet. There's no separate wallet like Dogecoin or Litecoin. It's all within the same wallet. And the reason why we created this is because I come from a team of old Bitcoin miners. And we were mining Bitcoin back in the day when you could still do it with graphics cards and CPUs. And once you can no longer do that, we decided not to keep up with the ASIC race. I mean, this is one of the ASICs we bought right here, which is 25 gigahash Butterfly Labs, which I just use as a microphone stand now because that's about the only use it has. And decided not to keep up with the ASIC race, so we moved over to the altcoins. We started mining Litecoin, Dogecoin, what have you. But then the script ASICs came out, and we basically shut down our operation. You can actually see I actually have a couple of the older GPUs back here right now. It's kind of like my little display. But we wanted to find a different use for these CPUs and these GPUs. And so is anybody familiar with Folding at Home from Stanford University? Okay, cool. For those of you not familiar with Folding at Home, you perhaps have heard of SETI at Home, where you're trying to find the aliens. Okay, cool. So basically, that's just a distributed computing project, just like Bitcoin. The difference is instead of trying to be a blockchain or a financial ledger like Bitcoin is trying to achieve, this distributed computing project, Folding at Home particularly, works on protein simulations that help researchers find cures for cancer, Alzheimer's, and various other uncured viral diseases. And this has been going on since October of 2000. And this interests us for a couple reasons. One, this is actually ASIC proof to the way we know ASICs. Now, obviously, yes, somebody could come around and create an ASIC to do molecular protein simulations, but that's very expensive, and there's no market for it right now because you don't make any money doing that. Right now, all of the research and venture capitalism is going into creating bigger, better script and SHA ASICs for the Bitcoin community. And right now, there isn't ASIC for folding at home, but it's like $1 million supercomputer that's just, nobody would be able to purchase one. So that's one benefit we had of this. Second benefit that we had of this is a lot of people in the Bitcoin community don't like the altcoins because they waste a vast amount of electricity. I mean, I'm in the camp that believes that, you know, Bitcoin will be the overall universal currency. I like the idea of tokens, and I like the idea of having like different uses for coins that are built inside of Bitcoin, such as LTB coin, if anybody's familiar with that, the Let's Talk Bitcoin coin, where you earn coins by listening to their podcast, or storage, where you earn storage coin by contributing to a decentralized cloud network. You know, we like those ideas. However, with things like Litecoin or Dogecoin, you know, those I don't feel necessarily will survive in the end. They're going to be nothing more than just a coin to toy with, and obviously there's varying opinions on that. So some of you may disagree with that, some of you might not, but the fact remains that a lot of electricity still goes into these other alternative currencies that just is for just useless hashes. And so what we want to do is we want to redirect that computational power that's used for Dogecoin, Litecoin, all the other coins, and we want to put that towards folding at home. Because the thing is your electricity, even if, you know, let's say hypothetically the coins that you're mining on folding at home are not profitable. Let's say FoldingCoin isn't, let's say it ends up being another coin that just dies. At least during the time when you were doing the folding, it was actually like not wasted electricity. It went to something more beneficial for humanity rather than just another alternative currency chain. So that was another thing that we found attractive. The last thing we found attractive was it's a really, really easy system to start with. I don't know if anybody here is a miner or used to be a miner, but using things like CG Miner and other little programs, you know, they get really kind of clunky. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can't get it started right. You got to configure, you know, config files and do all this crazy stuff. They freeze all the time. With folding at home, Stanford has been spending 15 years working on this, and they have it down to basically a science. You go on their website, you download an exe, and you're good to go. It just begins folding right away. There are only 2 settings that you need to actually enter in order to start gaining FoldingCoin, or your username, and that's just one setting. So you just have to enter your username the way we need you to. And I can maybe get into that a little bit later on, but that information's all on the website. But basically, yeah, is there any questions up to this point? I want to stop and see if there's any questions. Is everybody following me?
The only thing is you'll not be able to hear, so because it's coming through the laptop, so we can shout out.
Yeah, okay. Can you customize the port of the CPU percentage that is going to be used?
Just to clarify, was the question, can you customize the CPUs and the GPUs?
Can you limit them?
Like to overclock them and things like that? It's just kind of hard to hear when you're far away. I'm sorry.
Yeah, to limit them. Can you put a cap on them?
Oh, yes. So when you install, that's actually a really good thing. When you install folding at home, unlike with CG Miner and things like that, where you'd actually have to go into the overclocker and underclocking settings, it's really, really designed for newbies. There's actually a toggle at the very, very top that says low, medium, or high. If you go with high, what that is going to do is that's going to run your CPUs and your GPUs at full capacity. What medium will do is it'll run your GPUs at a slightly, like maybe at like half speed, and then your CPUs, it'll use about half the cores. So let's say you have an 8-core setup, then it's only going to use 4 cores. And then low speeds is just using 1 CPU core. But you can also do it in a really cool way that altcoin mining didn't allow you to do. You can also set up basically an idle setting. So that way, if you're on your computer and you move your mouse around and you're working, it actually stops your folding at home process. The moment you go to screensaver and your display goes black, then it automatically kicks to whatever setting you wanted it to. And you can adjust it however you like. And it's not like the mining programs to where it's like really confusing for people who don't know what they're doing. It's all in just like a program on your Windows machine. And it's just a toggle, low, medium, high. Now, if you choose to overclock them and things like that, you have to do that manually, but I actually never recommend anybody overclock anything. I never overclock cards because that fries them up really quick. But if you choose to do that, you still go through your standard into the like AMD console or whatever you're using. Any other questions at this point?
Yeah, on the actual screen on the right, I've got a GE 8000 graphics card.
Okay.
Which
just doesn't move at all. Do you have the facility to use that as well as the CPU?
So you're saying that in mining that it doesn't help at all, the GE 8000? Is that what you're saying?
It's just sitting there doing nothing.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
It's on the screen, but it's just sitting there doing zero.
So what you can do is, yeah, you can plug this in and it could start working on folding right away. Is that, you're saying you have a GE 8000 or are you looking at one of mine?
No. On the folding platform, it shows you your processor on the left-hand side, and it shows my GE 8000 on the right-hand side. It shows the processor working, but the graphics card's just not doing any. It's sitting there at 0%.
Oh, okay. So you're actually folding right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we actually have tutorials on our YouTube page that actually go over that issue. What you would need to do is once in a while they do freeze up. You know, just like with the altcoin mining, it happens significantly less. Like I have mine set up. I have all mine come to my laptop, so I can just control them from there. So when I have that issue, I just go in real quick and I just reset it. But basically what you need to do is you need to remove the graphics card and start it again. That's like the worst case scenario. Or you can try resetting the computer, which I'm sure you've tried. It can hang up on a process once in a while. So you just need to remove the GPU, then restart the program. And my email is, I'll give all my email and stuff at the end. Well, it's rross@foldingcoin.net, and it's all over the website. Feel free to contact me right away. I help people with these issues all the time. It's a real easy fix, but we do have them on the YouTube channel as well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Is there a business model behind this, or is it purely altruistic?
So that's a really good question. So how this started is me and a guy named James Sewell. He's our lead developer out of Canada. We were just looking for, this was back in July of 2014. We were just looking for a project to, we just want to do a fun project in the Bitcoin community. And we're like, oh, this is a novel, good idea. Like, it makes sense. When people contribute their computational power towards something beneficial, like creating cancer, they should be rewarded with these tokens. Because the thing is the tokens on Counterparty are so easy to create. We literally created it and we were off and running. Like, we didn't have to do anything else, so there was really little overhead. James just created our distribution calculation. That's basically all the code we had to write in the beginning, to where basically, to sum up how we do this is, you, in your username on FAH, you basically insert your counterparty address after your username. So that way we know that you want to get FoldingCoin. And what we do is we add up everybody who wants to receive folding coins. So right now we're up to like 30 million processes a day is what it basically is. So we're at 30 million calculations a day. And we take 500,000 folding coin, which is what we distribute daily. And we divide that by the 30 million. And then that comes to our number of how many folding coin each person gets for however many calculations they had. And I mean, there's really no overhead with that. It's not like other coins where we had to maintain a blockchain because that's what Bitcoin's there for. We didn't have to maintain a wallet because that's what Counterparty was there for. So it didn't start with really a business model. But then we started getting popular in the community. People really started liking our project. They loved the idea. And then we're like, yeah, let's make this a little bit more than just a little project. So I actually quit my job that I was at for 10 years to do this full time. I've been full time since January 4th of this year. May was a little bit of a slow month for us. I had some personal stuff I had to take care of. So did James. So this just past May was probably our slowest month we had in a while. But this whole year we've been extremely active, and June is looking like a really active month for us. We got a lot of projects that we've been working on, and that was the big struggle at the beginning of this year was, okay, we got to transfer this from just a novel project to a business model. And so the main focus that we've actually had is we've been developing a marketplace. And I guess I'll explain the limitations of our not the limitations, the problem that we need to find is, what do you do with a folding coin? Like, you don't do anything with it. Yeah, you get it. You help contribute to science, and maybe you cured cancer. That's all fine and dandy, but what do you do with it? The good thing about this problem is this is the same problem that many altcoins have, almost all of them. Like, they all try and compete with Bitcoin, but ultimately, what do you do with them? I mean, you can use something like Shapeshift, but you're just hurting the value of the coin that much more because you're just exchanging it for Bitcoin. So the good thing is our problem is the same as a lot of other altcoins. And And a lot of other altcoins kind of don't have a business model that is really like getting the coin to use. So what we're doing is, since we're built on Counterparty and since we're built on Bitcoin, the huge benefit we have is all of our development time can be focused towards our applications and what we can do with the coin. We don't have to maintain a wallet, which that is crazy amount of time consuming. That's a lot of labor hours. We don't have to maintain, difficulties or fluctuations or a block explorer. All of this is already done for us, which is fantastic. So what we've been working on this year is a online eBay style marketplace. And this will be able to, you can buy and sell things just like on eBay using Counterparty tokens. So, I'd be a seller on there, and let's say I want to sell this computer I got right back there. I, as the seller, can choose which Counterparty tokens I accept. So maybe I accept storage coin, maybe I accept Bitcoin, maybe I accept XCP, maybe I don't even want to accept FoldingCoin. Let's say I just want to sell my computer and I don't like FoldingCoin, so I don't even choose to sell it for FoldingCoin. Well, then a buyer comes around and they get to decide, okay, well, this guy accepts storage, Swarm, XCP, whatever he accepts. I'll pay him in my token that I choose. And so then it pulls up the current market rate and it exchanges it and it all goes through an escrow system, which would be a little too long to get into right now because we're also still developing it. But the way we get FoldingCoin value is if you want to post something on there, even if you don't accept it for FoldingCoin, which we don't require, you can accept it for any Counterparty token. You have to pay a fee like you would for eBay or like eBay or PayPal, to where you pay FoldingCoin to us, and we only accept FoldingCoin. So this fee may be, let's say, 1,000 FoldingCoin. To post an item costs you 1,000 FoldingCoin. You basically send that from your account to whatever the admin server is, and then it says, okay, now you are allowed to post one item. And then if they want to post another item, they pay another 1,000 FoldingCoin. I mean, it'll be something really small, but it's going to be a way for us to make money, and it's also going to be a way to give FoldingCoin value. Because if this site gets popular as we hope and anticipate it will, because there's not, I don't know if any of you remember bitmit.net a long time ago. It was a great site. I used to use it as a miner. There hasn't really been a great Bitcoin marketplace. I mean, there's some cool things happening with Open Bazaar. We've been watching them. I mean, they're a very, very interesting project. But besides them, there's nothing on the horizon. And also with Open Bazaar, don't get me wrong, I love that idea, and I will definitely be researching them and following up on them to see how they come along. But something about a decentralized marketplace, there's still the issue of, yeah, you can trust this third-party arbiter, but ultimately, there's no accountability. Like with eBay, there's accountability. If somebody doesn't give you your item or something, you have eBay to complain to. And there is other, obviously, issues with a centralized service, like they take 10%, which is just robbery. But, we can find a middle ground. We want to have a system to where we can step in if we need to, but at the same time incorporating this arbiter system. And we also want to make it all online, so that way people, they can just use it just like an eBay rather than Open Bazaar, where they would actually install a program. And also, I don't know how far out Open Bazaar is at, but this is something that I feel could get ready fairly soon. And so we've been working on a beta for probably about 2 months. And one of our developers, Chad, who was heading up the development on this, he had to take a leave of absence right now. So the marketplace actually got put on hold for about a week or two ago. And me and James are going to get back, collaborate. And James is the lead developer. He's been working on our back-end stuff. But we're going to collaborate on getting this marketplace, getting a beta pushed. Anybody have questions about the marketplace? Or that particular business model? So to continue to answer your question about our further business models, we had a decision of if we wanted to be a for-profit company or a nonprofit. We are actually attempting to be the very first 501c3 cryptocurrency. Now, I don't mean the first 501c3, which is, if anybody doesn't know what that is, that's U.S. tax exemption. So that's a U.S.-based charity. There is other 501c3 Bitcoin projects like BitGive, but we would actually be the very first coin that is actually it's an altcoin that is also a tax-exempt status. The reason why we're doing this is really one huge reason, is because with FoldingCoin, we can't in any way, shape, or form avoid this. There is centralization to it. There absolutely is. Once I distribute folding coins, so if you earn folding coins from folding throughout the day and you get them and I send them to you, you have them. I can't take them back from you. It works just like Bitcoin. However, until we distribute all the folding coins, somebody has to hold all of the folding coins that haven't been distributed, and that's us. And so one of the struggles we had in the community also is this is a big, obviously, decentralized space. We all love the aspect of decentralization, and I too share those same beliefs. But the way folding coin works, inherently, we can't avoid a centralized service. We have to be centralized. You know, people were saying, well, what if we all just, you know, create a program that everybody can upload, you know, protein simulations and protein folds? Yeah, that's great, but, you know, I trust the community when it comes to tech-related stuff, but I'm going to trust people with PhDs to make, you know, protein simulations. You know, I don't know how a protein works. I don't know the calculations I'm actually running. I just know how to work it. You know, I have the 101 version of what Folding at Home is doing, and I keep up to date with them and all the great, well, white papers that they've released for all their medical research. But, you know, ultimately when it comes down to it, I can't read medical papers. I'm not a doctor. So we can't really do it that way. You can't also have it to where anybody, like even somebody with a PhD, just uploads it to any random server, because then you can have people that upload cron jobs or email hacking like calculations. So, you know, it's just a little bit sticky. So one of the big things that we can do to make sure we're additionally trusted in the community is not only is all of our personal information and stuff online, we're also, if we get our 501c3 status, that gives us accountability to the U.S. government. We would be a fully regulated, publicly owned charity, which means that any time if people don't like what we're doing, we're publicly run, they could do something about it. You know, they could get us out of our board seats. You know, right now, as it stands legally, I own FoldingCoin. Once our 501c3 status gets approved, I no longer own FoldingCoin. I'm just the director of FoldingCoin. The public owns FoldingCoin. So that's another thing we're doing to build trust in the community. So our business model has kind of been the marketplace is the main way that we can make money to keep us afloat and to keep us going on. But our other ventures have included doing counterparty outreach, tutorial videos, you know, just general help in the Bitcoin community. And it's not a huge money-making operation yet, but that's why we really feel the marketplace. We're kind of putting our eggs in the basket with there, thinking that that's a needed service in the Bitcoin community, and we feel that it would be very successful. But yeah.
So when we spoke back in, I can't remember, possibly December, there was some talk about maybe using FoldingCoin for a currency within meetups around the world as well.
Yes.
Did anything develop with that idea?
So it's still as an idea, and we would still love to pursue this. Here was the limitations we had with that. The biggest limitation we had with that is Counterparty did not have a mobile wallet. And without a mobile wallet, it's just virtually impossible to be able to send Counterparty easily on the go. So, you know, I'd have to bring my big clunky laptop. You'd have to bring your big clunky laptop in order to exchange Counterparty tokens at a meetup. That's just not doable. You know, there's no QR codes or no anything like that. So we kind of put it on hold after we talked to some of the guys at CoinScrum. We talked to some guys at some other various Bitcoin meetups around the world. And after a while, we kind of just decided to put it on the back burner, because other questions that they said was, well, okay, this would be a meetup currency. Why? Like, what is the relation between a meetup currency and FoldingCoin? And, you know, that question kind of stuck with us for a while. And we were kind of like, yeah, you know, maybe that wasn't, you know, the best pairing of an idea. You know, it's possible that wasn't. And, you know, we still would like to pursue it, but we're putting more focus in the marketplace right now, because having a meetup currency as FoldingCoin kind of would be hard to do, because basically what we'd have to do is we'd have to give you FoldingCoin somehow to get started. Well, if we give you FoldingCoin, that would come out of our pockets, and we need our FoldingCoin to do things like, you know, in case people have issues or promotional giveaways, things like that. And I wouldn't mind giving like 100,000 FoldingCoin to a couple meetup groups, but if we give, you know, 5 million FoldingCoins away, there's all of our stockpile. We don't have any more than that, because we actually don't have a lot of FoldingCoin that's in circulation. And so it doesn't really make sense to do it that way. Now, we could just encourage meetups and participants to, hey, go home, fold, get some folding coin, and use them at your meetups on your own. And that is something we would like to pursue, but then it's not really a native meetup currency. Then it's just folding coin being used just as any other altcoin. So I don't know. Did you ever think more into it, or did you just kind of see our idea and just?
Yeah, I mean, I liked the idea in principle in terms of incentivizing people to come along to kind of play around with something that wasn't necessarily Bitcoin to be able to transfer. But I think it was a long time ago we spoke about this, and I think you mentioned the mobile issue before, and I think that would take a significant amount of work to solve that.
Well, here's the good news now. Since then, there is a mobile wallet solution now. So there's a company called IndieSquare, and they have just released a counterparty-based mobile application. It's still very new. It's only like 2 weeks old. So we're watching it. We're watching it closely, and we're seeing how it develops. But in general, I use the app from day to day, and it works really, really well. I mean, it's awesome. It's really exciting to have that. So that solves that solution, that problem. However, speaking still, because I am part of the Counterparty Foundation, I personally don't think FoldingCoin was the right direction to take the Meetup currency. However, creating a Meetup currency on the Counterparty platform is a good idea, because then what you can do is, FoldingCoin has to be earned via the folding mechanism. As for a Meetup, incentivizing people to come to meetups, we can just create a Meetup currency just on the Counterparty platform. And what you can do is you can just say anytime a Meetup wants to sign up for this, the organizer gets, X amount of Meetup tokens for however many participants they have, or however it's set up. So, like my indie Bitcoin meetup we're a pretty small meetup. We usually have about 10 people that join. It looks like you guys have about 15 to 20. Is that right? That come. Okay. So, you guys are probably in the same class of us to where, we might not get that many because we don't have that many participants. As for someone like the Amsterdam Wednesday, they got like 50 people that come every week. They might get a little bit more. Or CoinScrum in London, they might get even more because they have like 100 people that join. So I would like to find a meetup organizer who'd be interested in collaborating on this, because I think doing a native meetup currency would be the better solution than using FoldingCoin. It was just, when we thought of that meetup idea, that was when we were transferring, like I was saying earlier, from the niche little side project that we just did for fun after we got off work to transferring into an actual project that we look to heavily develop. And so that was kind of the first thing we thought of, was like, hey, Meetup doesn't have a currency. We love meetups. We go to them all the time. Wouldn't it be awesome if they had something that you could, hey, you get X amount of meetups for coming to a meetup. You could even set it up like that to where, you don't give currency to a particular meetup. You just have a QR check-in code that you give to event coordinators, and they just post it at their meetup. And then anybody who comes to any sort of Bitcoin-related meetup scans their phone, and they get their share of the rewards just for joining meetups. So then the meetup organizers don't even have to hold any at all. People could just get them by scanning a QR code. There's tons of ways to do it. And with FoldingCoin, it wouldn't make sense. With its own, it does make sense.
Yeah, I think the thing that attracted me about that idea at the time when we were speaking about it was FoldingCoin is kind of this, it carries out an educational purpose as well, I think, for a lot of people who are newcomers to the scene, because, to be honest, the vast majority of people that come to it are just not going to mine. I know it doesn't make sense financially anyway, but they're not going to go home even if it did make sense necessarily and pick up computers, because we've got people that are from non-technology backgrounds increasingly coming to these events. Whereas something like folding at home, if you're effectively folding using it through Chrome or whatever it might be, the really simple way of doing it. That's almost standing in for the concept of, I'm doing something on my computer, I'm earning something that has some value, whatever that value is, and I'm then physically trading it at an event where other people are thinking about the same concept. So I think overall, the education side of it is, to me, there's still definitely something there, but.
There absolutely is. And it's actually funny you bring that up, because when we started this, we were like, oh my God, every miner is going to want to do this. it's doing something good and you can't bring ASICs to it. There's no difficulty fluctuation because, like, I don't know if any of you were miners, but watching difficulty rates and having to jump from chain to chain, that's just a pain. With FoldingCoin, there's none of that. You know, you don't get any of that. So we're like, oh my God, this is going to be a miner's paradise. And then we launched, and we found out that we have about 600 people that do this. We have 600 folders, and some of them are miners. Most of them are people who've never heard of cryptocurrency, never heard of Bitcoin. You know, they were people who were interested in folding at home, and they're like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I can earn currency for doing this. I've been doing this for 15 years anyway. I might as well make some money doing it. You know, because that's another thing that people don't really get. Folding at home, let me give you some background on how popular it is. So we're going to rewind to 2009, right when Bitcoin started. At that time, folding at home was about 30 petaflop speed. You know, it's not really important what a petaflop is at this point. It's a computational measurement. So back in 2009, before Bitcoin began, folding at home had achieved 30 petaflop speed. Let's fast forward to 2012, when Bitcoin was really starting to gain traction. There was a huge difference between folding at home and Bitcoin. Both were like distributed-based computing projects. Both were for socially beneficial things, but one was profitable and one was not. Folding at home was not profitable, and it still isn't profitable. So therefore, it's limited to, you know, geeks with computers like me, or medical researchers, you know, people who are interested in the mission of the non-for-profit, because folding at home is a non-for-profit 501c3. Bitcoin is moneymaker. Yeah, the social benefits are great, and all this is awesome with Bitcoin, but ultimately, when it comes down to it, you can make some money doing this. So by 2012. Folding at home had achieved 36 petaflop speed, and Bitcoin was up to 330 petaflop speed. So in 3 years, Bitcoin's was already 10 times more powerful than the folding at home network was in 12 years. I mean, that's an absolutely crazy number. And so then the ASICs came out, and now today, folding at home is about 48 petaflops. And if you transferred hashes to petaflops, Bitcoin would be like 5.5 million petaflops. Like, it's just astronomically more powerful than the FAH network. And the FAH network is faster than any other computer or computing system in the world besides Bitcoin. It goes Bitcoin at 5.5 million petaflops, then it goes FAH at 48 petaflops, and then China has a supercomputer at 33 petaflops. Those are the three most powerful computing systems in the world. And so we're thinking, you know, and obviously Bitcoin, you know, that's all ASIC power. But what if that ASIC power, what if venture capitalists saw FoldingCoin as like, hey, this is profitable, let's make an ASIC for FAH. You know, think about how much cancer we could solve. If we can even 10 times the FAH network, that means the work that they're going to do over the next 10 years can all be done in 1 year. I mean, that'd be crazy. You know, so our actual interested community, by weird coincidence, or not weird coincidence, that's the wrong word, by just something weird, is it didn't end up being the Bitcoin community, it ended up being the folding community. Now, that doesn't say that we don't have Bitcoin miners and that we don't have Bitcoiners, but a lot of my time early on was spent explaining to some of our folders what Bitcoin is and why they should do it. So it has worked as an educational tool. So I will say at least, you know, 300 people have been introduced to Bitcoin because of this. So that's a victory. Yay.
You know, following on from what you were just saying there, I get why you chose Counterparty. Basically, you could get off the ground running practically instantly. And you've got a secure blockchain already in Bitcoin, so that's not going to be your primary concern. However, what you've just talked about, you're sort of almost skirting around the fact that it is a fabulous proof of work. It's a useful proof of work. And because it's ASIC proof, and it's got many of the elements of a desirable blockchain element, did you consider that, or have you subsequently considered using the folding element or some other similar element that's useful as a part, at least, of a proof of work algorithm?
So basically, to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying, so you're saying our proof of fold concept that we have, could we develop that to be applied to other applications? Is that right?
I'm thinking about, at the moment in Bitcoin, you've got this huge distributed network that if you take away its usefulness as a ledger, and I think nobody here will do that,
Right.
one of the arguments is it's very wasteful, or everyone doing exactly the same thing. Now, if though, and of course one of the reasons it will secure the ledger is because in submitting a block, you must prove, the only way you could have got that is to have the computational power to solve the problem. And if you want 51% of the network, you better have a lot of beef and money behind you. So the proof of work secures the network. Now, but it's very, very wasteful because of the ASIC arms race. Whereas if it was ASIC proof, which the folding, your folding project is, then could you, the answer may be no, but could you use the folding element as a useful part of an algorithm for a whole new blockchain and altcoin that could maybe be, I don't know, solve the future Bitcoin problem instead of all this wasted work. Does that make sense?
That does. So we have thought of that, and the short answer is no, and I'll explain why. So remember, we are very, I make sure this is known because I don't want to mislead anybody. We are very centralized. I'm going to explain to you how we're centralized. So it starts with Folding at Home. Here's how we depend on them. They have medical researchers who have to create these protein simulations that they need done. So, you know, somebody with a PhD, they say, hey, FAH, which that's Folding at Home, it's also called FAH. They say, I need, 1,000 of these proteins folded. And so then they upload it to an FAH server. Then the FAH server connects to anybody's computer. So what happens is when my computer is looking to fold a protein, it goes to the FAH server and it says, hey, I need to work. I need something to do. And then the FAH server says, great, we just had this guy that gave us 1,000 proteins. Here you go. Here's one of them. So then you download it and then you start working on it. And then the FAH server says, okay, just let me know when you're done, send it back, and I'll give you a new one. So if we were to apply the folding mechanism to that system, here's what would happen is if that FAH server ever goes down, then the whole network goes down. This actually just happened to us about a week and a half ago. The FAH network, over in California, they had really bad electrical storms and their calculation server went down. So since their calculation server went down, we were not able to send out folding coins for a whole week. So once again, there is weaknesses in having a centralized service, obviously. That's the whole reason why Bitcoin isn't. And so, another thing we actually like the idea of Bitcoin. Like, I am not in the camp that says the proof of work is useless. I like it. It's a really long, unique, useless math problem. It's not tied to anything directly. And I don't see that as a waste of energy because it actually creates something. It's creating the blockchain that we know it. I mean, it's the proof of work. Now, there is arguments that proof of stake might be better. And, I'm not really a super blockchain expert to the point to where I could give a solid opinion and make solid arguments with it. But I'm happy with the way Bitcoin works now. To what I know, I mean, there's some interesting ideas of how it could be fixed. I'm happy with the proof of work. The thing that I'm most concerned with, which is a whole separate topic, is the Bitcoin bloating, the blockchain bloating. That's the only concern that I have foreseeable for Bitcoin. But that's a whole different topic. But yeah, so, I mean, because the ASICs are energy efficient. I mean, so when an ASIC connects to the Bitcoin network, I don't really see that as a waste of energy. I see that as that person contributing to the greater good of a better financial system. Because the thing is if you start getting into Counterparty and you really learn, oh my God, Counterparty can make Bitcoin not only money, but it can replace lawyers. It can replace wills. So instead of you having to get a lawyer to notarize a will with you and your children or something, You can just hash it on the blockchain using Counterparty, using a smart contract, and then you don't need a notary. The blockchain can act as your notary. You know, you can use it for stocks. You know, instead of using things like E-Trade or the New York Stock Exchange, companies can sell stocks directly to people. You know, the ASIC miners are important for Counterparty as a whole to grow because there's so many applications you can do on Counterparty. You know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with GEMS, but they're doing the whole encrypted messaging system now. I mean, there's so much that's happening with Counterparty, and Bitcoin, the blockchain, and the ASIC miners are key to that. They need to be a part of that. So I don't see that as a waste of energy. So Folding, I think, complements it well because we can be centralized on top of decentralized applications, which is great. So, but using it as the actual overall proof of concept, no, I don't think that's good. There is CureCoin. We've talked with them. They're really nice guys. CureCoin is basically our quote unquote competition, but they're not really. They're just they're doing the same thing we're doing. They're just doing it in a different way. Rather than them being on Counterparty, they have their own blockchain, which they have to maintenance. They have to, you know, work on their wallets, this, and that. They're going with that concept. They're actually right now building a CureCoin 2.0 in which the blocks are directly tied to, like what you were saying, to the Stanford's servers that actually distribute work units. So it is actually being done. You know, you're not the only one to think that. They've actually thought that, and they're doing it. And we'll see how it works out for them. We're just taking a different direction. So.
Okay. I'm following on from that. I'm asking this in behalf of one of the group that isn't here. And he's working on something. It's a multi-level proof of work.
Okay.
So instead of one big puzzle where we get this arms race that we're talking about, you have a top puzzle, and then underneath it, two simpler puzzles. And then below that, you get sort of boundary branching. And each level are simpler puzzles. So if you have got a CPU, then you can join the competition for coins at the simple level. If you've got something beefier, you can come in at a different level. And at each level, once that's solved, it's then the result is then fed upwards, is fed upwards in the chain. So ultimately, what you get is exactly what we've got now, but it should help with the distribution. Now, what he's thinking about is the sort of puzzle is, imagine a sort of Brownian motion, where you've got nonlinear dynamics, you've got all these particles bouncing about in a three-dimensional space, and the puzzle might be mapping these, for instance. And what you do is split up this three-dimensional space into smaller spaces. And if we just take two levels like that, then somebody can come in and just deal with one of the small spaces. Now, the level up from that will then look at the flux between each cube, because obviously at the edges, the motion, you're going to get particles going out of one box and into another. So at one level, the simple level, they'll look at these, you pick a small cube and work on it, and at the higher level, you'll look at the overall flux between them all, and then you can put it all together, and you've got the solution. So the reason that I brought this up is he's really, really disappointed not to be able to make it here, and because there might be some synergy in the stuff that you guys are doing. If you would agree, we would like to email you and chat about
Absolutely. I mean, when you put it that way, which, by the way, that seems very interesting. Before I give my response, I have one question actually for you. So is that something that could be applied to Bitcoin, or would that have to be a brand new chain? Could that be something that could be in Bitcoin Core?
I think you would have to maybe experiment with a new chain, and then if something interesting came out of it, then you would see if it could solve the Bitcoin problem.
That's really interesting, because since you I was thinking that you were thinking just our proof of concept runs a blockchain, which is possible. It's just not smart to do it that way. But if you have multiple puzzles and you're depending on multiple things other than just folding, that could be a possibility. Because let me make sure I understand correctly. So it wouldn't just be folding, the folding concept. That wouldn't be the only version of proof of work. You can have other variations of proof of work. So in case the folding isn't working for some reason, the proof of work is discovered some other way. Is that correct?
Exactly. And
that
I just like one possibility, because his name's Alan, by the way, because that's one of the things he's looking at. It may not be that puzzle. It may experiment with lots of different ones. And some, of course, that may be useful, like protein folding. But I'm not sure there'll be a business in this. It may be more academic with possibilities for the future, much in the way that yours is developed in unforeseen business directions. At this moment, it's just something that is interesting and may have possibilities and maybe worth talking about.
It would absolutely be worth talking about. That's actually a really interesting concept, because you could apply that to things that are like, there's other distributed computing projects. Like, you guys might be familiar with SETI or World Community Grid. There's some other ones that aren't as popular as folding at home, but you can even apply them to this new distributed proof of work concept that you're talking about. Yeah, I'd like to, my emails, actually, I'll just put my email right here too. Let's see. Coin.net. If anybody wants it, let's turn that off and on. All right, does it actually show my email? Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, no, definitely email me. I would love to talk to you more about that. It's a really interesting idea, because I think that could be good for Bitcoin. Once again, I'm not a blockchain expert, so I don't focus too much on that. I understand how the blockchain works, understand the proof of work concept, but I put my focus on things that I know I could help change, and I couldn't just make a new proof of work concept. But if you got somebody who could, and they want to talk to me about incorporating what we're doing into it, that's a possibility. Not
yes, thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Does anybody else have any questions about what we're doing? I love this. This is awesome.
Can I clarify about the folding at home? You're saying that, well, I've had it on for a few days now. It's completed a couple of projects or folding. So you get points at the end of the completion?
Yeah, so basically how it works is, if you start today and you just have a CPU, depending on what kind of CPU you have, you might not get paid till tomorrow. Like, if you have a Pentium, we actually have a couple of people that use Pentium 3s, which I guess, yeah, if you want to, that's fine. You're not going to get much for it, but hey, it's still helping. But if you started like a Pentium 3 right now, it's probably going to take you 2 days to finish something. So that means you might not get paid till the third day, because we don't pay you as you're working. Once you complete the fold and you send it to Stanford, and Stanford confirms that it's not malicious, that it is a real work unit, and that you've completed it properly, then they assign you points on their network. Once they assign you points on their network, we pull those and we'll pay you on the next distribution. We pay once a day, and the calculation occurs at 1 a.m. Eastern time. But depending on my schedule for that day, or if I have any tasks, I pay anywhere between 1 a.m. and 9 p.m. I do pay daily. I try and get them done as I can right when the distributions happen. But if I have something to like if I have stuff that's like, my schedule is really weird, because, and obviously a lot of you probably have weird schedules because of cryptocurrency. I work with different people all around the world. So like, getting ready for you guys, it's 2:39 here, and I got meetings tonight that are in Australia. So I just woke up. This is my morning right now, and it's 2:39 p.m., but it's, what is it? 7:39 for you guys. It's weird. I mean, my schedule is just so weird, but we try and get them paid. We do get them paid once a day though. And we've been really consistent. The community understands, once in a while, if I have like something like a family emergency, I might not get to it right away. But we're pretty consistent on it, and you can actually see the exact times when we send everything out. We're really consistent. It's all on our website. But yeah, so you might not get paid until the following day. Now, if you have some GPUs, like you're probably gonna, or some like high-powered CPUs like i7s or Xeon processors or something like that, you're probably gonna get them cranking out the day you start it. Because like an i7 will finish a work unit in like 5 hours. I have a 290X, an R9 290X that'll crank one out in 6 hours. And then it's also, a lot of people ask this question, and to answer this question for you, if you had it, some people say, hang on, this guy has 10 million calculation points, but he only has like 1,000 work units. As for me, I have 10,000 work units and I only have 1 million points. What's up with that? So the way this works is on the website, you have something called a work unit and you have something called FAH credits. The FAH credits are virtually like the points you earn for your calculations. That's virtually what they are. The work units is the amount of proteins you've folded. So if you have a CPU, you're going to fold them a lot quicker because they're smaller, but you're not going to get that many points for them because you use a CPU. As for if you use a GPU, you're working on really, really big proteins. So it's going to take more energy and more time and better equipment. So therefore, you're going to get more points, but you still only completed one. So then people say, you know, oh, so GPU work units are more important. Not necessarily. Every work unit, no matter how small or big, is equally important to the medical researchers. So having CPUs and GPUs is both important because, you know, they may be working on small proteins, they may be working on big proteins. The reason why you get more points for working on the big ones is because it takes more energy. So that's why you get allocated more points. But scientifically, they're equally important. So that might be why you see some people have a lot of points but low work units. That means that they're running a GPU farm. It's kind of what I have. I got a 34 cluster. And my CPUs are all not very good, so they don't get many work units, but the GPUs are on fire. But yeah.
And the other thing you were saying that you can actually store your FoldingCoin with your Bitcoin.
Yes. So for those of you not familiar with Counterparty, if you go to CounterWallet now, okay, there are Counterparty enabled wallets. So counterwallet.io is one of them. Another one is the LTB Companion Wallet, which is a Google Chrome extension. And most recently, you have IndySquare's CounterWallet mobile application. So there's really 3 wallets out there right now. And each one of these wallets are literally Bitcoin wallets. And they're counterparty enabled, so that means they can actually decode the counterparty assets in your wallet. So if I send you some to your wallet, then it's a counter wallet. Your counter wallet knows that it's a counterparty asset, so therefore it says that you have it. But you can send counterparty assets to any wallet you want. So I can send counterparty assets to my paper wallet. I can send them to, you know, an Airbits wallet, a blockchain wallet. I can send them anywhere I want. But if the wallet is not counterparty enabled, all it's going to see it is as you received a really, really small amount of Bitcoin. Because how this works is let's say I want to send you 100 FoldingCoin. Remember, FoldingCoins live inside of the Bitcoin blockchain. So in order for me to send you a FoldingCoin, I have to send you just a Bitcoin transaction. So according to the counterparty code, it's a really small amount of Bitcoin. So it's like 0.000078 Bitcoins is what I need to send you in order for you to receive my counterparty asset. So when I send you 100 FoldingCoins, if you go to blockchain.info, it's going to show that I'm sending you 0.000078 Bitcoins. That's all the blockchain is going to see. Now, to figure out what's inside of that blockchain, you need to get into the actual bits of data inside of that transaction. And if you have a counterparty enabled wallet, it'll basically look at like the input output scripts and the OP returns and things like that. And it'll be like, oh, this was a counterparty transaction. And he's sending 100 FoldingCoin from address A to address B. So there's basically another block explorer you can look at that's called blockscan.com. So blockscan.com is basically the explorer for all counterparty assets. And it also shows all the Bitcoin transactions because it is inside of Bitcoin, but it focuses on your XCP assets, which is what they're called. So did that make sense? How it gets to your wallet?
Yeah, that's right. I've got a counterparty account anyway. So.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. You're folding, so you must have one.
No, I had one before. It was a thing called Scott Coin.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
I was going to mention that as well, the Scott coin, given that we are Scottish Bitcoin Meetup, and Scottcoin kind of launched at one of our earlier meetups.
Yeah.
The concept of merge mining, or do you want to speak a little bit about that? Just to,
yes, I would. So going back to if we can apply this concept to other applications. So what we've actually decided to do, we weren't necessarily thinking about changing the blockchain and how the proof of work works, but what we did is we're like, you know what? This could be used for other coins. Because the thing about Counterparty is if you make something for one Counterparty token, you've made it for all of them. Because they all work the same. If I make something for Bitcoin, it's not compatible with Litecoin. Somebody's got to change some stuff in order for it to work. As for with Counterparty, if you make something for Counterparty, it's compatible with all Counterparty tokens, which is really cool, and it makes things really easy because all of our stuff's automatically compatible with Storage and Swarm and XXX. And so what we're like is like, hey, other coins can distribute on our platform. So this may be a way for somebody who has a really good idea that wants to distribute their coins to be able to, instead of worrying about creating their own altcoin chain or their own block explorer, instead just piggyback off of our system. And we could do a merge mining concept. So we have some different participants. We have right now 3 coins that are on our platform. We have Octo, we have Spells of Genesis, and we have Scottcoin. We had Palcoin, but us and Palcoin have parted ways. But so basically what the idea is like I said before, instead of, okay, wait, let me start over. There's basically 3 kinds of people that this would interest. The first is somebody who has a really good idea for an altcoin, but doesn't want to maintain a blockchain. So like, for example, let's say I come up with this idea of, I have this coin that I want to use for my website. I want people to be able to purchase my services on my website, and I want it to be mineable, and I want people to be able to earn this daily, but I don't have the time to maintain a wallet or a blockchain or an explorer. Basically, they create their coin on Counterparty and say, hey, FoldingCoin, would you take care of calculating these for us? And we say, sure. So we say, how many do you want a day? And they say, we want to distribute 2,000 per day to all your participants. And every 4 years, we want to cut that in half. So 4 years from now, we want to lower that to 1,000. 4 years from then, we want to lower it to 500 per day, and so forth and so forth. And so we just set that all on our PHP script and say, okay, you're good. So what happens is anybody who's earning FoldingCoin in this new coin, or anybody who's earning FoldingCoin, they just have a Bitcoin address at the end of their name. And since all Counterparty tokens go to the same Bitcoin address, basically all we do is have to distribute them these new coins in addition to FoldingCoins. So anybody on our platform, if they want to go into collaboration with us, we require that their participants earn FoldingCoin in addition to their coin. So it's like a merge folding thing. And then we also have a system to where you can accept all these coins. So there's a command that you put in your username. That's the all command, which is that's the command most people like to use. So you would do like username _all Bitcoin address. That's what it looks like. And that means you earn any token on this platform. So people who have that earn FoldingCoin, BitCrystals, Scottcoin, and Octo. And the second thing that this would attract is people who have been like scam artists. Or people who have been scammed, not people who are scam artists. Let me clarify that. So Octo, what happened is there was this coin last year called Octoparty, or not Octoparty, Octocoin. And the developers were just kind of like, they're scam artists. There's a lot of them in this space. They were promising the world to all their investors and all the people who had their coin, and then they did a runner last October. So their community was left with all these Octo coins that were just useless, and nobody ever planned on developing it. So they wanted to still have their Octo coin that they spent precious money on, and they didn't have time to find a new explorer, a new wallet, or new devs, and because there's tons of coins looking for devs. It's really hard to find one. So they approached us and they're like, hey, we would like to move our coin over to Counterparty so that way we can continue developing the applications we wanted. So we held a burn for their Octo coins, just like, we created a burn address for Octo. Octo addresses began with an 8. So it'd be like 8, and then it said like, burn your Octo coin here was the actual address. So that's a provably unspendable address. And anybody who sent, let's say you had 1 million Octo coins. If you sent 1 million Octo coins to that burn address, then you got 1 million Octoparty coins on Counterparty. So they literally moved their entire chain, similar to what Scottcoin did. They moved their entire chain from their old chain to the counterparty chain, and now they can continue on with their project. So that's another benefit. And then the last one is like a promotional giveaway. This is what ScottCoin and BitCrystals are doing. So to help spread the adoption and the amount of people who hold ScottCoin, you know, when we were getting in talks with ScottCoin, it's just a good way for them to promote their coin. It cost almost virtually nothing. I mean, it's a super cost-effective system. I mean, it's like a couple bucks a month, and you get advertising to 600 people. I mean, that's exactly what it is. And so when they send their, you know, they're right now doing a 5 million ScottCoin giveaway over 6 months. I think they're expect to end in July 15th. So right now, you know, you're earning ScottCoin if you're doing folding in addition to FoldingCoin. And then BitCrystals is the other one doing a promotional giveaway, and they actually just ended 2 days ago. But we're hoping to extend collaboration with them, just like when ScottCoin, when they're up, we're hoping to extend collaboration with them. But if not, you know, that's fine. We're just used as a promotional giveaway platform. So if anybody has a counterparty project and they just want to give away tokens to a big group of people to kind of get started with their project, not only can they do it on our platform, but they know that people are earning these tokens by doing something good for humanity. They're helping create cancer, or not helping create cancer, helping create research for cancer. We don't quote me on that one. We're not creating cancer. But yeah, so merge folding is really cool. You know, anybody who's just starting a coin, they can just do a promo on our platform. Because that's the thing about counterparty tokens. Rather than them trying to compete with Bitcoin, they all have individual purposes. So, you know, we're trying to incentivize those to fold. Storage is a decentralized cloud storage. LTB is proof of publication. You know, Swarm is like an investment opportunity. It's like equity almost. There's all sorts of different styles of assets that you can put on counterparty, but none of them compete with Bitcoin. They all complement it. You know, they're all just different uses that we can do for these sub coins. Because I mean, think of it this way. I mean, this is my favorite thing about counterparty is this ability, is like being able to issue stocks on here. You know, there's a lot of corruption in Wall Street, and, you know, you have to trust people. You know, you have to trust your broker, who has to trust this guy, who has to trust this guy, who eventually has to trust that the people giving you the numbers and the figures and what's in, you know, all the stock stuff, you have to trust all those people. And it's also a lot of overhead is the big thing too. You know, you have to pay all these people you have to pay 1,000 middlemen. Like I used to, before Bitcoin, I used to have an e-trader account. So I'd buy and sell stocks, and I hated it because it's like, I got to spend $10 to buy a stock directly off of this website. And if I want to sell them, and they're going to take 10% of my profit, plus they're going to, you know, it's just ridiculous. And it's also just like, I don't really own the stock. E-Trade owns the stock. So I don't really physically have it. So imagine if, let's say, we'll use Apple stock, for example. Imagine if Apple stock was on counterparty. Not only could you buy directly from Apple, so you know, Apple wants to sell you stock. All you do is send them Bitcoin, and they send you stock in their company. Not only can you actually own like an Apple token in your wallet, if you want to get dividends, all Apple has to do is pay dividends to you because they know you own it, because they can see it on the blockchain. So, you know, if there's 10 people that own Apple stock, and they're in 10 different wallets, so there's one Apple share in 10 wallets, and Apple wants to pay $1 to each shareholder, each wallet will get $1. Now, let's say I have one of those Apple shares and I give it to you, Doug, and I sell it to you. I could actually sell it directly to you. We don't have to go through a broker. We don't have to go through anything. It's just like a Bitcoin. It's a digital asset. I send it from my wallet to your wallet. You give me $10 from it, and now you have 2 shares. So when Apple does its next dividends, everybody will get $1, except for you. You'll get $2 because they see your wallet has $2 shares, so therefore you get $2. So they don't even need to know that me and you transacted that, because they're just looking for it on the blockchain. So it's stuff like that that's really cool about counterparty. Y'all should look into it if you don't know much about it. It's a really, really cool project going on.
And in terms of counterparty, just kind of the wider picture, there's obviously so many different 2.0 ideas flying around.
There is.
Counterparty from what last January really set off and were hugely grew in terms of awareness and everything else really quickly last year, particularly from launch. But there's all this other stuff. There's CoinSmart. There's the open assets call. There's all these other ideas around that are attracting different types of people. So if NASDAQ are using open asset,
Yep.
then that's going to see a shift in terms of interest from more traditional kind of financial institutions and everything else, because they think, well, NASDAQ's looking into it, so should we be? Are you seeing the counterparty in your position as a director now, or what is your official position at the counterparty? Is it
I'm at the Counterparty Foundation, so I'm a community director for the Counterparty Foundation, and we're going to work our hardest to not be like the Bitcoin Foundation and have corruption and all that. So don't worry, we're good. We're good guys. That's why I got my face out there.
Are you seeing the numbers? Are you seeing the numbers of people that are engaging with counterparty continuing to increase at the same pace, or?
So, oh yes, you can see the holders of XCP that has increased over time, and you can see the amount of activity on Counterparty that's increased. We already have something like over a quarter of a million of transactions that have happened on Counterparty, which is really exciting. In my opinion, the other 2.0 platforms, just kind of like what FoldingCoin versus CureCoin. People in the community in general will think of it as competition. I don't. I think of it as all of us in this cryptocurrency space trying to solve the same problem. We're just doing it in a different way. I had a conversation with Mark from NXT once, where he was, we were all in a forum discussing Counterparty versus NXT, and basically the end of the discussion, we all came to the common consensus that, hey, look, let's all share our ideas with each other. We're all of us have the same goal in mind. We want to get crypto to the world. Not many people use cryptocurrency yet, and I'm actually kind of glad that people weren't using cryptocurrency up until the 2.0 ideas, because now instead of introducing Bitcoin just as money, we can introduce Bitcoin. I consider Bitcoin the idea of cryptocurrency, not just Bitcoin, but Bitcoin and these other 2.0 platforms. We can introduce this as a whole suite of applications that can replace a lot of corruption and financial institutions in this world. They can make them a lot better. And so I don't view them as competition, because everybody's doing something differently. NXT does it different than Counterparty, which does it different than Ethereum, which does it different than open assets. The reason why I chose Counterparty to really focus my time in is because of all of these 2.0 platforms, including Omni and the other ones. Counterparty has taken the field of dreams approach to where if you build it, they will come. That's what we're doing. We're building it as we go. We're releasing things as we make them. The other ones like Ethereum, Ethereum has been anticipated for like 2 years now. They're waiting to release because they want to make sure it's perfect before they release, which is fine, and that's a good method to take in some cases, but you can't use it yet. So there's millions of dollars worth of ether that people have, including me. I have some ether. Well, I purchased some ether. I don't have it yet. That's the problem. But even Omni doesn't really work that well. All of these 2.0 platforms, they're just waiting to release for whatever reason. As for Counterparty, they started one thing. They're like, let's release the wallet and let's release assets. So then they release that. Then let's release the decentralized exchange. Then they release that. Then let's release non-alphanumeric assets. Let's release that. Let's port over Ethereum's Python. Okay, they did that. Doing it as we go. And the cool thing about that is the reason why some of these big projects that you hear of, like Storage or Swarm or LTB Coin, the reason why they're on Counterparty and they're not on Ethereum or Omni is because they can use it. They can do it right now. There's not a waiting thing. If FoldingCoin, July in 2014, if we looked at Counterparty versus Ethereum, let's say Ethereum beats Counterparty in every aspect. And it does beat Counterparty in some aspects. But let's say it beats them in 100% of the aspects. We're going to have to wait until they release in order for us to work. It's not, or, we could give theoretical FoldingCoin. It's kind of like that. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Ether coin, but, you got theoretical Ether that you have on an Ether coin blockchain, which for those of you who don't know, Ether and Ether coin are two different things. But we could have done that, but with Counterparty, we're working. That's why Storage has gone with them. Swarm, it's a 2.0 platform you can use today. And the cool thing about that too is as these other 2.0 platforms, I guess it's not fair to say that Next isn't working. NXT is working today as well. Most of the 2.0 platforms aren't though. But Yeah, I mean, you can use it and it's working fine, and it's also on the Bitcoin blockchain, which makes it easier to track, and it has a lot more participants.
I think that's kind of interesting. We do get a little bit hung up, I think, when we spend a lot of time around the community on this. Is it competition or is it not?
Yeah.
I think, remember the project when Patubone came out and announced the going with counterparty effectively, and you could see there was a little bit of why they're going with AM as opposed from some of the other camps, and vice versa. But the reality is, the whole point of this is that it's broken down the barriers for innovation to take place. So
exactly, and you know,
in different areas, I totally subscribe to that. I think that's the main thing.
And I think people will, because, you know, I kind of like a lot of people in the 2.0 space. They kind of share. Well, I guess there's two different camps. There's people that share this philosophy I have, and there's people that don't. I like to think of the philosophy that there may be more than one blockchain. You know, it might not be one blockchain to rule them all. You know, it would be nice to have that, and you know, that's what I kind of like to work towards, to have everything on Bitcoin. But I recognize the fact that that might not be true. And I recognize the fact that there is usefulness in finding and using other blockchains for specific purposes. So, you know, in a perfect world, Ethereum and Counterparty, they may be able to work side by side. You know, there's not something saying that it's either going to be Counterparty or it's going to be Ethereum. You know, one's going to win. I don't necessarily think so. And because of that, actually, you know, we've actually had discussion with various people about, hey, would you be able to do merge folding on other 2.0 platforms? And that's a possibility. You know, we would have to build a way we can distribute tokens, but you know, we could, if we have it built. I'm not saying that this is something out right now. This isn't even something we've started working on, but it's possible for us to even distribute NXT assets, like do merge folding with NXT assets while still being able to work with Counterparty. So we could be built on Counterparty. We just have to have a way to verify somebody's Bitcoin address with their NXT address, which digital signatures and broadcasting messages, that's an easy thing to do. We could actually, you know, assign an NXT address to a Bitcoin address, and we could start distributing NXT assets on merge folding. We do the same thing over Ethereum or Omni. I don't think that the platforms will necessarily be competing. They're complementing each other. You know, I personally like it being on Bitcoin, but I could see that Ethereum with 12-second block times, that has its benefits. You know, you can't deny that. It has its advantages over Bitcoin's 10-minute block time. There just is. But it doesn't have the adoption, and it doesn't have the massive amount of computational power as Bitcoin. And I know they're not using a proof of work per se concept, like exactly like Bitcoin is, but I'm not as scared about the proof of work as some people are. So I don't really see that as a problem. I see the bloating of the blockchain as the biggest problem. But I mean, all of them are really interesting, and you know, I research all of them to learn as much as I can what all the other projects are doing, because rather than competing with them, all these projects are open source for a reason. So like, I saw one guy, you may have seen this, Doug. One guy was like dogging on Counterparty of like, oh, they just ported over Ethereum smart contracts. They didn't even work for it. Well, Ethereum made it open source for a reason. They want people to do that, you know? And it baffles me when somebody gets mad about that, because I'm like, Bitcoin is open source. Like, the whole idea of this community is open source everything. I mean, that's what we're all about. We all want the same thing. Who cares if we're working at it in a different direction? You know, I love the guys over at CureCoin. They have a really, really interesting project, and the way that they're going about this folding at home thing is really neat. It's a lot more work than I think is needed, and we want to do it in a different way. But it doesn't mean we can't learn off them, and it doesn't mean that they're not going to do something more efficient than we might. So yeah, that's my opinion on that.
I think the whole thing is fascinating as well. I'm conscious of the time because we kind of run over, but I think when what's going on with the block size discussion, shall we say, at the moment, and just how entrenched some of the positions are, and the competing, I suppose, ideologies that are really clashing together at this point in time as to whether or not, so most of the people here will have heard something about it, but whether or not block size.
Yeah. So you do want to talk about it, or you said we're crunched for time?
Well, no, I don't know how many people would actually be interested in talking about that or not, but I was just saying more as a, you know, we do live in a little bit of a bubble, to say the least. Anybody involved in this community spending a lot of time around it. So yeah, sometimes it's we argue over things where that put that to aside, because that's quite fundamental. Well, depending on your viewpoint, that's quite a fundamental direction about
Right.
Bitcoin has to go in or not, depending on your viewpoint. But we've got to be careful and make sure we keep it open. And I guess it's just natural as the numbers of people involved do start to increase and mature. There's a certain the counts build up a bit more. But yeah, interesting to see how it goes. I'm conscious of the time, and I'm rabbiting on as I probably could.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the time you've given me. This was great. Yeah, we're probably over an hour, aren't we?
Very possible. We
like that.
actually started after we managed to get the connection. Has anyone got any kind of final wrap-up thoughts or questions that would be anything you want to throw in? No, nothing particular.
Okay. Well, my little final thing that I'll say then real quick is we have public meetings once a month for FoldingCoin. Ours is coming up this Sunday. So if you want to learn more, you want to talk to me again or see me again, you can join this Sunday. We do have that. We're pretty active on YouTube. We're active on the forums. You can ask us anything you'd like. We got a whole bunch of FoldingCoin videos. I've done a lot of different talks. You can kind of siphon through all those if you'd like. Excuse me. And yeah, you can also join us on the Counterparty Talk forums if you want to learn more about Counterparty or other 2.0 platforms. Whichever 2.0 platform you choose to get involved with, I recommend Counterparty because you can start using it today, and it's really good. It's built inside of Bitcoin. It's got a great community, tons of great coins on it already. I recommend getting involved with that one, but definitely research 2.0 if you guys aren't into 2.0 yet. It's significantly, in my opinion, it's significantly more important than Bitcoin as a money. It's way more important than Bitcoin as just money. It's Bitcoin as everything. So it's kind of cool. But okay, well, I'll let you guys go. Thank you very much for the time. My email is right there at the bottom, or ross@foldingcoin.net. Ask me anything you guys would like.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, and yeah, and he's also got a new podcast, Counterparty Forum. I think yesterday, but it's on the LTV network. So, so worth having a listen, just to keep up to date with that. But thanks very much for your time, and yeah, we'll say thank you. Usually, welcome. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.